Welcome. I'm glad you're here tonight. Wherever you found yourself, your bed, your couch, or simply a quiet corner, this space is meant for you. Allow the noise of the day to drift away and give yourself permission to rest as we wander gently through the world of psychology. The psychology of love is often described in bright and comforting terms. However, researchers also study its less visible and more complex sides. When people talk about the darker aspects of love, they usually mean the hidden motives, subtle control, or patterns that can emerge when attachment and desire interact. These elements are not always dramatic. They may appear slowly, and the person involved may drift much deeper without effort. One way to begin is with the idea of attachment. Attachment theory explains how early bonds with caregivers influence later connections. Secure attachment can create stable and healthy relationships. Insecure forms, such as anxious or avoidant attachment, may shape how people seek love and how they respond to closeness. For example, someone with anxious attachment may crave constant reassurance, while someone with avoidant attachment may resist intimacy. In practice, these styles can influence adult romantic bonds. A person who fears abandonment might interpret neutral actions as signs of rejection. A person who prefers distance might withhold emotional closeness as a form of control. Over time, these patterns may create cycles of tension. Each partner responds not only to the other, but also to their own underlying attachment needs. Another concept linked to darker patterns in love is dependency. Love can create a sense of reliance. While some dependence is natural, extreme reliance can shift the balance of a relationship. One partner may feel unable to function without the other. This dependence may allow the other person to exert power. In simple terms, the more one needs, the less freedom one has. Researchers also describe the role of projection in love. Projection happens when one person places their own feelings, fears, or desires onto another. For example, someone who feels jealous may assume their partner is unfaithful without clear evidence. Or a person who feels inadequate may believe their partner sees them as unworthy. Projection can distort reality. The partner becomes less a separate person and more a mirror for hidden emotions. The idea of control is often present in discussions of dark psychology in love. Control does not always look like obvious force. It can appear in subtle ways, such as deciding where to go, who to see, or how much time is shared. Sometimes it is expressed through financial means by regulating access to money. Sometimes it is emotional through praise or withdrawal of affection. Control works by shaping behavior, often without open conflict. Manipulation is another mechanism to consider. Manipulation in love may involve guilt, persuasion, or selective information. A person may exaggerate their suffering to gain sympathy. They may withhold details to guide the other's choices. They may use flattery to soften resistance. In practice, manipulation often blends with affection, making it difficult to notice. The partner may feel they are freely choosing, even while their options are narrowed. Jealousy is one of the most common features of dark psychology in love. At its base, jealousy is the fear of losing a valued bond to another. It can serve as a signal of care, but when it grows intense, it can limit freedom. Jealousy may lead to monitoring behaviors, such as checking messages or asking frequent questions. It can also lead to accusations that strain trust. Over time, jealousy may create a cycle in which reassurance never feels enough. Possessiveness is related but distinct. Possessiveness means treating the partner as an extension of the self. This may show in the desire to know every detail of their life, or in discouraging them from outside connections. Possessiveness can create a sense of closeness, but it may also reduce individuality. In the extreme, one person may feel they are no longer seen as separate, but only as part of the other's identity. Another area to examine is idealization and devaluation. In some relationships, one partner may first be placed on a pedestal. They are seen as flawless, special, or uniquely important. Later, they may be criticized or dismissed. This shift can be confusing. The partner may try to regain the earlier admiration, not realizing the cycle itself is the problem. The pattern can repeat, alternating between idealization and devaluation, creating instability. Psychologists also discuss the role of power in relationships. Power can be balanced, where each person has influence, or it can tilt. When one partner holds more power, the other may adapt their behavior to avoid conflict. For instance, decisions about daily life may always favor one person. Over time, the imbalance may become normal. The partner with less power may not notice how their autonomy has narrowed. Another important concept is emotional contagion. Emotional contagion means the transfer of feelings from one person to another. In love, this process may be strong because of closeness. One partner's mood can quickly influence the other. When the emotions are positive, this may strengthen the bond. When the emotions are negative, it may create cycles of tension. For example, if one partner is anxious, the other may also begin to feel restless without clear reason. Over time, emotional contagion can become a tool for shaping behavior. A partner who frequently displays sadness may indirectly encourage the other to provide comfort. A partner who often shows anger may cause the other to avoid certain topics. The emotions themselves serve as signals that guide interaction. In darker forms, this can reduce open discussion, since one partner learns to adapt to avoid emotional waves. Another dynamic is triangulation. Triangulation happens when a third person is brought into the relationship dynamic. Sometimes this is overt, such as comparing a partner to someone else. Other times it is subtle, like mentioning how others view the relationship. Triangulation can be used to create competition, insecurity, or alignment. For instance, a partner might say, "My friend agrees with me," to gain support in an argument. This shifts the balance, making the partner feel isolated or pressured. In practice, triangulation often connects with jealousy. The mention of another person may spark insecurity. The partner may feel they must compete for attention. This can intensify attachment, but also create stress. Over time, triangulation can form a pattern where outside figures are regularly invoked, even when not present. Another pattern is intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement occurs when rewards, such as affection, are given unpredictably. Research shows that unpredictable rewards can be more powerful than consistent ones. In relationships, this might mean that affection is shown some days, but withheld on others, without explanation. The partner receiving it may work harder to gain the affection, since it is never guaranteed. This pattern can create strong attachment, even when satisfaction is low. By contrast, consistent reinforcement builds stability, but in darker forms, inconsistency may keep the partner uncertain. The unpredictability can make them more focused on regaining closeness. It becomes difficult to step away, because there is always the hope of the next reward. Love can also involve the psychology of secrecy in communication. Secrets may include hidden feelings, unspoken doubts, or private actions. In darker psychology, secrecy is not neutral, but strategic. For example, a person may share some information but hide key details. This selective sharing shapes how the partner views the relationship. They may think they have full knowledge, while important parts remain unseen. This connects to the concept of trust. Trust is often defined as the belief that another person will act reliably and honestly. In love, trust develops slowly through repeated experiences. When trust is present, the relationship feels safe. When it is manipulated, the partner may feel uncertain but unable to confirm the truth. In darker forms, One partner may exploit trust to maintain control. They may say, "You should believe me," even when evidence suggests otherwise. Another related area is dependency on attention. Love often increases the desire for closeness. However, some people may crave constant attention, while others may give it selectively. Attention can then become a resource to be managed. A partner may notice that by giving or withholding attention, they can shape the other's behavior. Over time, the one seeking attention may adapt themselves to maintain it, losing independence in the process. Another aspect of dark psychology in love is role expectation. Partners often develop roles, such as caregiver, provider, or advisor. These roles can be balanced, but sometimes they become rigid. For instance, one partner may always be expected to solve problems, while the other always provides emotional support. When roles harden, flexibility is lost. The partner may feel they cannot step outside the role without conflict. Over time, role expectations may shift into role exploitation. A partner may take advantage of the other's role, relying on it without reciprocity. This can create silent resentment, yet the roles remain in place because they seem natural or because change feels too difficult. Another important factor to consider is dependency on comparison. In relationships, partners sometimes compare their bond with others. They may look at other couples and decide whether their own connection seems stronger or weaker. In darker forms, one partner may use comparison as a tactic. They might say, "Others would treat me better," or "You should be more like them." These statements shape behavior through implied standards. The partner on the receiving end may strive to meet the comparisons, even when they feel unfair. This connects to the concept of social evaluation. Social evaluation occurs when people judge their worth based on how they appear in relation to others. In love, social evaluation may become amplified since partners are closely tied. If one partner regularly makes comparisons, the other may start evaluating themselves constantly. Over time, this can create stress as self-image becomes dependent on meeting shifting expectations. Another mechanism to examine is blame shifting. Blame shifting means transferring responsibility from oneself to the other. In relationships, it may appear when conflicts arise. One partner may say, "This is your fault," even when both played a role. In darker forms, blame shifting becomes habitual. The partner receiving blame may eventually accept responsibility for events they did not cause. This reduces their sense of agency. In practice, blame shifting connects with guilt. Guilt is a powerful motivator. When a person feels guilty, they may try to repair the bond by altering behavior. If one partner uses blame consistently, they gain influence through guilt. The other partner works harder to avoid further blame, even when their actions are reasonable. Another concept in the psychology of love is emotional labor. Emotional labor refers to the effort required to manage emotions, both one's own and the partner's. In relationships, emotional labor may include calming tension, showing support, or masking frustration. In balanced love, emotional labor is shared. In darker forms, one partner may perform most of the emotional labor. They may feel responsible for maintaining peace, while the other contributes little. Over time, this creates exhaustion. Closely related is the idea of emotional withholding. Emotional withholding means refusing to share feelings or support. A partner may remain distant, even when closeness is needed. This can create imbalance, where one partner provides emotional labor while the other withholds. In darker forms, withholding may be deliberate, used to keep control. The partner seeking closeness may try harder, reinforcing the cycle. Another area of study is ritual. Rituals in love include daily habits, routines, or shared traditions. These rituals strengthen bonds by providing predictability. However, they can also be used as tools of control. A partner may insist that rituals must be followed precisely. Deviations may be treated as signs of disloyalty or lack of care. The rituals, rather than the bond itself, become the measure of commitment. Over time, rigid rituals can reduce freedom. Partners may feel they must act in specific ways to avoid conflict. What began as meaningful traditions may become obligations. In darker forms, rituals are no longer shared choices but rules imposed by one side. Psychologists also study the role of fear in relationships. Fear can appear in subtle ways. A partner may fear conflict, fear disconnection, or fear disapproval. These fears guide behavior, often without conscious awareness. In darker psychology, fear becomes a primary tool of influence. The partner who creates or maintains fear gains control. Even the possibility of fear may be enough to shape decisions. By contrast, security is the opposite. Security allows freedom, while fear restricts it. In practice, the balance between fear and security determines much of the relationship's tone. When fear dominates, the bond feels tense. When security dominates, the bond feels steady. The darker side of psychology emerges when fear is used intentionally to maintain attachment. Another dimension is the control of self-expression. In healthy love, partners feel free to express opinions and preferences. In darker forms, expression is restricted. A partner may criticize, mock, or dismiss the other's views. Over time, the partner learns to remain quiet. This reduces individuality. The relationship becomes one-sided, with one person speaking and the other adapting. This connects to the idea of self-silencing. Self-silencing occurs when a person hides their thoughts to preserve harmony. At first, it may seem protective, but in the long term, it reduces authenticity. The partner may feel unseen, as their true self is not expressed. In darker forms, self-silencing is reinforced by the other partner's reactions. Silence becomes the path of least resistance. Another process that deserves attention is conditional regard. Conditional regard occurs when love, approval, or attention is given only under certain conditions. For instance, a partner may show warmth only when the other behaves in a desired way. When the condition is not met, affection is withdrawn. This system resembles reinforcement. Over time, the partner adapts their behavior to receive positive regard, often at the cost of their own needs. Unconditional regard, by contrast, means that approval is not dependent on behavior. In darker psychology, conditional regard is often emphasized more than unconditional regard. The partner who controls the conditions gains influence. The other partner learns that their worth depends on compliance rather than individuality. Another dimension to examine is dependency on secrecy of weakness. A partner may learn about the vulnerabilities of the other, such as fears, insecurities, or past mistakes. In a healthy relationship, sharing weaknesses creates intimacy. In darker forms, these weaknesses are stored and used strategically. A partner may bring them up during conflict to weaken confidence. They may suggest that only they can tolerate these weaknesses, reinforcing dependence. This process connects with the idea of power through knowledge. Knowledge of another's weaknesses gives leverage. The partner who holds this knowledge may shape behavior simply by implying they could expose or criticize. Even without action, the awareness of this possibility can restrict freedom. Another common feature in the darker side of love is obligation. Obligation arises when one partner feels indebted. This may come from favors, sacrifices, or gifts. In balanced love, obligations are mutual and temporary. In darker patterns, obligation is long-lasting and one-sided. A partner may frequently remind the other of what they have done for them. Over time, the partner feels they cannot act freely since they owe repayment. A related idea is debt of gratitude. Gratitude itself is positive, but when it becomes enforced, it turns into debt. A partner may say, "You should be thankful," as a way to control. Gratitude shifts from voluntary appreciation to required obedience. This subtle change alters the bond. Psychologists also discuss the role of dependency on promises. Promises in love may create hope and stability. For example, a partner may promise future changes, plans, or commitments. In darker forms, promises are given but not kept. The promises maintain hope, preventing change in the present. A partner may continue waiting for transformation that never arrives. The promise itself becomes the tool of influence rather than action. This connects with the concept of delay. Delay occurs when outcomes are always postponed. In relationships, delays may involve avoiding decisions, avoiding commitments, or avoiding change. The partner may believe progress is near, but it never materializes. Delay keeps the bond in a suspended state, limiting movement forward. Another pattern is dependency on testing. Some partners repeatedly test the other's loyalty. They may create situations to see if the partner complies or chooses them over others. Tests may be disguised as casual events, but carry hidden meaning. In darker forms, testing becomes constant. The partner learns they are always being evaluated. This creates anxiety and reduces authenticity, since they act to pass the test rather than to express themselves. Another mechanism is dependency on scarcity. Scarcity means that resources, such as attention, time, or intimacy, are limited. A partner may give affection rarely, making it more valuable. The other partner may strive harder to receive it because it feels scarce. Research shows that scarcity increases perceived value. In darker psychology, scarcity is created deliberately. The partner withholds to increase control. This connects with the idea of availability. Availability means being present and responsive. In darker forms, availability is unpredictable. The partner may vanish emotionally or physically for periods of time. The uncertainty increases attachment, since the other partner longs for return. Scarcity and availability combine to create a powerful influence. Another dimension is dependency on evaluation. Some partners constantly evaluate, using praise or criticism. Praise may seem positive, but when given strategically, it shapes behavior. Criticism may lower confidence, creating reliance on future praise. Over time, the partner may feel their worth depends on continuous evaluation. They may adapt their behavior to maintain approval. This process links with the concept of reinforcement schedules. Just as in learning theory, behavior is shaped by patterns of reward and punishment. In darker love, partners may unconsciously or consciously apply these schedules. The bond becomes less about free choice and more about conditioned response. Love also involves memory. You remember how someone made you feel. You remember the first words, the first glances, the small moments that felt larger than they were. These memories create a selective bias. The human brain does not store every detail. It stores fragments. Those fragments are often the most intense or emotionally charged. This means you may remember a relationship as better or worse than it actually was. The distortion is not intentional. It is a byproduct of how memory works. Love and memory are deeply intertwined. In the psychology of love, there is also repetition. Patterns recur. People find themselves attracted to the same kind of individual again and again. This is sometimes called repetition compulsion. The brain repeats unresolved dynamics from childhood or early relationships. The repetition is unconscious. It feels like choice, but it is not. Understanding this requires deep self-reflection. Few people engage in it fully. Another aspect is the role of absence. Absence intensifies love. When the person is not present, the imagination takes over. The imagination creates an idealized version of the person, smoother and brighter than reality. This imagined figure can feel more powerful than the real one. Psychologists note that distance magnifies affection. It also magnifies longing. This is why separation can sometimes deepen rather than weaken bonds. Control also plays a part. Love is not always equal. One person may feel more deeply, one may give more. The imbalance creates tension. This imbalance is part of the dark psychology of love. It introduces manipulation. It introduces dependency. It introduces fear. People fear losing the one who holds more power in the dynamic. The fear can override logic. Rational thought bends under the weight of emotional need. The language of love is also symbolic. Gifts, words, gestures, they all serve as symbols. But symbols can mislead. A word may not match the feeling behind it. A gesture may mask indifference. Humans rely heavily on these symbols, and the reliance creates openings for misunderstanding. Entire relationships can rest on symbols that are interpreted in different ways. Jealousy, too, is worth mentioning. It is one of the most universal yet destabilizing aspects of love. Jealousy arises from fear of loss, but also from a projection of one's own desires. The jealous person imagines betrayal. They create scenarios that may not exist. The scenarios feel real, and the feelings become real, even if the events are not. Jealousy is powerful because it blends reality and imagination till the distinction collapses. Another dark aspect is dependency. Love creates reliance. The presence of the other becomes necessary for emotional stability. Without them, life feels incomplete. The dependency can lead to compromise, even self-erasure. People change themselves to keep love. They abandon parts of who they are. This transformation feels voluntary, but it is guided by fear of abandonment. The psychology of love also includes projection. You see in the other what you want to see. You project your own desires, your own unmet needs onto them. The projection feels real. It feels like recognition, but often it is illusion. You are seeing yourself, not the other. When the illusion fades, disillusionment follows. This disillusionment is another layer of the cycle. Time, finally, is the greatest influence. Love changes with time. It fades, it grows, it transforms. The passion of early encounters rarely lasts. It is replaced by attachment, by routine, by stability, or by decline. The cycle continues. Some resist the change, others embrace it, but no one escapes it. Time reshapes love, and with it, the mind. The dark psychology of love reveals not only its beauty, but also its shadows. Love can elevate, but it can also distort. It can heal, but it can also wound. The brain is both participant and observer. It is both rational and irrational, caught between logic and longing. To study love is to study contradiction, and so love remains a force of desire, of fear, of memory, of illusion. It shapes decisions, identities, and lives. It is at once personal and universal. And though psychology can describe its patterns, the experience remains singular. Each person feels it differently, yet the themes are shared. Love endures in the mind. It endures in the shadows. It endures in the quiet moments and in the restless ones. The psychology is dark, but the reality is simple. Love is both the question and the answer. And with that thought, you may let your mind rest, carried gently by the rhythm of these words, into a state of quiet reflection, and perhaps into sleep.